Long queues are common at the clinic run by MSF in the hepatology department at Phnom Penh Hospital, with the team seeing as many as 100 patients a day. As the only facility in Cambodia delivering free screening and treatment for hepatitis C, patients come from all over the country to consult.
ខ្ញុំជិះតាក់ស៊ីមកនឹងប្រើរយៈពេល3ម៉ោងកន្លះបានមកដល់ភ្នំពេញដល់បេនឡានខ្ញុំជិះម៉ូតូឌុប
This man found out he was infected with the hepatitis C virus over 10 years ago. The disease has progressed to such an extent he's had to stop working. With no money coming in, it was impossible for him to benefit from the new and radically improved drugs now available, direct-acting antivirals that are highly effective but prohibitively expensive. With diagnosis and treatment costing the equivalent of 6 times the average monthly wage, people who earn less simply can't afford them.
ប៉ុន្តែកូនខ្ញុំវាប្រាប់ខ្ញុំថាពុកអើយតម្លៃថ្នាំនឹងថ្លៃណាស់អញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំចេះតែគិតមិនដឹងជាដោះស្រាយដោយវិធីណា
Given patient numbers and the extremely high price of diagnosis and drugs, the MSF team has to prioritise treatment for those with the greatest risk of developing severe and fatal forms of the disease.
ក្រោយពីធ្វើលទ្ធផល fibro scan មើលសាច់ថ្លើមនឹងមកគ្រូពេទ្យបានប្រាប់ខ្ញុំថាសាច់ថ្លើមនឹងចូលដល់កម្រិតទី4ហើយអញ្ចឹងក្នុងការព្យាបាលនេះគឺនឹងបានប្រើថ្នាំក្នុងពេលឆាប់ៗនេះ
In post-war Cambodia, the critical state of the health system led to numerous cases of infection. Up until 2000, Cambodians contracted the hepatitis C virus from poor sterilisation practices. By the end of April, the team had already provided 900 patients with treatment. Given the extent of the needs, MSF is developing a treatment model for the Ministry of Health to roll out across the country.
The majority of our patients are pretty poor, so this is a hardship for them to have to come all the way to Phnom Penh to get treated for hepatitis C, but they are doing it. Ultimately, that's probably the tip of the iceberg. There's probably more patients in those areas who haven't attempted to seek care so far away.
But the programme's success depends on more than just provision of care. A battle must be waged on another front, the exorbitant prices charged for direct-acting antivirals by laboratories and drug patent holders.
What's the point for this big pharma to put together so many resources to bring 2 molecules that are very effective against HCV if it's at the end to prevent through the pricing policy to prevent the patients to have access to it?
Agreement must be reached on a fair price for these drugs so essential to the survival of hundreds of thousands of people.
I saw a man yesterday who said to me, I know these medicines are so expensive. He held up his bottle and he said, I dropped one on the floor the other day and it was like I dropped my heart. I think people feel it deeply. I think they value it deeply to have the opportunity to be treated.
These scenes were filmed in Mosul late March, early April, while the Iraqi forces were carrying out airstrikes. The attacks caused numerous victims, many of them civilians. MSF set up this advanced medical post to provide treatment to the wounded brought in from the front line just a few kilometres away before referring them to its hospitals to the south of the city.
And the idea there is that you stabilise the patient, make sure that they're safe for the 40-minute to 1-hour transfer, and then hopefully you do a good enough job that they can make it to the hospital and have a chance to survive.
During April, the fighting became less fierce and the team treated considerably fewer casualties. MSF shut down its last advanced medical post when the front line moved. But that doesn't mean hostilities have ceased. The front line has shifted, but its hospitals admitted yet more casualties in early May. Meanwhile, with those who can still fleeing the city, the displaced persons camps south of Mosul are becoming bigger and bigger. Yuri has come to the health centre in Gukasavan this morning to take his drugs under a nurse's supervision. She makes sure he takes his medication properly and asks about any side effects. This support is an essential part of treating multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. The side effects of treatment are extremely unpleasant, but patients who adhere to the treatment protocol increase their chances of recovery. Organising this daily ritual of care is demanding in terms of setup, just as it is for patients who often live far from the clinic. For patients on Unaccompanied, there is an additional challenge that the drug must be taken in 2 daily doses at 10-hour intervals, and health centres are closed at night.
Բոլոր դերերը ստանում է առավոտյան չափաբաժին են մեր մոտ իմ ներկայությամբ խմում է երեկոյան չափաբաժին ինքը ստանում է հեռախոսում ինքը հատուկ ստացած բան միշները նայում են ինքը ստանում է այդ իրանց ներկայությամբ.
During the evening, a nurse calls Yuri via Skype. Using video to observe treatment was launched in Armenia a year ago. In 2016, 28 patients used this technique. It reduces at least some of the burden, as much for patients as for health workers.
One nurse can do DOT for many patients without coming out from the cabinet. This is comfortable for the patient too, because it does not limit the patient's movements. The patient is not obliged to be in the definite place on the definite time.
Using video to observe treatment is one of the strategies MSF has introduced to improve treatment for the most resistant forms of tuberculosis. Helping relieve patients' pain and alleviating the burden of treatment by providing care in the home are just some of the ways of giving patients some hope of recovery. In administrative jargon, an unaccompanied minor is a foreign, under 18-year-old child not in the care of a responsible adult, father, mother or close relative. In France, child welfare services have a legal obligation to protect these children. The same regulations apply nationwide, but depending on the region, they receive very different treatment. What does the law say? Upon entering French territory, anyone claiming to be an unaccompanied minor must be provided protection, shelter, and if necessary, medical care. Their unaccompanied minor status must be assessed within 5 and 13 days maximum. During this period also, they are to be provided accommodation and protection. All unaccompanied minors legally recognised as such remain under the care of the state until the legal age of majority. Paris is one of the regions in France with the most unaccompanied minors. In 2016, 2,005 were assessed by Child Protection Services. The system is overstretched, and contrary to what the law provides, the youngsters, traumatised after long and dangerous journeys, have no safe place where they can get some respite, recuperate, access healthcare, and obtain information on their rights. Some are even denied the possibility of having their request examined properly. In the humanitarian centre set up by the authorities, an initial 15-minute interview can be all it takes for the DEMI, the evaluation unit for unaccompanied minors, to reject their application. Applicants who manage to get an assessment interview then have to wait an average of 4 weeks for the decision, far more than the maximum of 13 days provided by law. During this time, they are put up in hotels where they receive almost no support. The percentage of applications rejected upon completion of the age assessment procedure is much higher in Paris than the national average, 80 to 85% compared to 50% elsewhere in the country. Once rejected, these asylum seekers are no longer entitled to protection. Presumed to be adults from the time they entered France, if they are unable to provide proof they're under 18, their only option is to appeal the rejection before the juvenile court. In Paris, the association AGI supports them through this process that can take up to several weeks. Considered neither adults nor children during this time, they are in limbo with no protection. Many sleep rough while waiting for the court's decision. In autumn 2015, Médecins Sans Frontières began assisting refugees, first in the camps in northern France, then in Paris with a mobile health clinic and emergency shelter. A team is also working on setting up a day centre which will be opened to unaccompanied minors who are in transit, who have recently arrived, or who have been rejected by the child protection system. MSF will provide primary and mental health care and help the youngsters integrate state-run health services. The teams will also work together with other associations specialised in education and legal aid for minors. Lastly, MSF plans to provide temporary accommodation to 50 minors awaiting the outcome of their appeals or who are sleeping rough.
I am used to these kind of pathologies. I come from a country that we have the same challenges regarding the pathologies we observe. The difference is that the resources are different. So yeah, sometimes can be frustrating that you know how could be the outcome of a patient in another setting. The mortality in Homa Bay County is still very, very high. Because the patients are coming late. We don't have all the resources to decrease the mortality. It's our goal and we are in the way to do it. Yeah, we try our best, but there's more things to do.